But they were just lowly little soldiers.
So how the hell did this go on to 34 years?
Anyway, but I just kept, like I said, I would just go to, like I said, I've moved to different prisons, and I usually met people or knew people.
Yeah.
And there were staff moved around, and people would speak up for me.
Yeah.
And I built such a reputation with my job working, that was that it got to a point where they used to come out with they came out with a 2-year clerk list. You couldn't be a clerk in a certain job for more than 2 years.
Yeah.
Well, 90 days before your 2 years was up, they put out a list of all the guys coming up. And as soon as I'd come up, I'd have staff come up to me going, hey, look, come to work for me. You have a microwave, you have a coffee pot, you have a refrigerator, you have access to a copy machine, you have access to typewriters. Come work for me. I'll bring you lunch. That type of thing. So it just became a thing. But the thing was is that I just continued over the time. Yeah. And then, like I said, but I always knew, in the back of my mind, I knew I was going to get out one day. I always knew that. What
finally got you out then?
Well, ironically, I did get found suitable in 2013.
Yeah.
And I had a commissioner that when he saw me, he told me, I'm going to tell you right now, he goes, your life reads like a Victorian novel.
Yeah.
He goes, I hope you get this, in print or in film. Mm-hmm. I think it needs to be out there. And he goes, and he was, at that time, we were starting to learn about a lot of the stuff going on, all the conspiracy stuff.
Yeah.
And he'd read some of that, and that was in my files.
Okay.
And he's like, yeah, these people need to be fronted. These people need to be, anybody that's alive needs to be accountable.
Yeah.
So he goes, I'm finding you suitable. And then he goes, and I'm going to do everything I can to make sure there's no reason the governor will take your date. Because they've given the governor the right to take dates also, which went against, because when I fell, the governor didn't have the right. Mm-hmm. And so he shouldn't have been able to do that, because I fell 5 years before they gave that law to him.
Yeah.
But they violated ex post facto, as I'm sure you know the term ex post facto.
No, I've not heard that.
Ex post facto is where if they make a negative law or rule today, mm-hmm. they're not allowed to run it retroactive.
I see.
If
statute of limitations.
Well, statute of limitations is a little bit different.
Yeah.
The thing is that they cannot go into the prison system now and say, okay, everybody in here for murder, it's now the death penalty. We're going to kill you all tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
They can't. You can't go back and do that.
Yeah.
But they can say, we've got death penalty now, so anybody gets convicted after today, mm-hmm. you guys are going to die.
Right.
And that's the thing. So by all rights, I shouldn't have lost my day for day, mm-hmm. and I shouldn't have lost my governor's not being able to take my date. So this commissioner goes through, and he really checks off the boxes. Oh, he's got this, he's got that. And he tells me, I wish you good luck. I know this is going to... 2 days before I was supposed to parole, because they give the governor 5 months to make a decision. Mm-hmm. He takes my date. Mm-hmm. Everybody over here, Matthew from Prisoners Abroad was waiting for me. Betty, my pen pal friend, was waiting for me. Mm-hmm. All that stuff takes my date.
Mm-hmm. Which governor was it?
Governor Brown, the one that's in office right now.
Yeah.
And it was really funny because at that point he had not been taking anybody's dates that was going to be deported. Mm-hmm. And I was already going to be deported. Mm-hmm. They'd already brought that out. So it was like a real shock. And
you must have been heartbroken.
Well, I was. And I kept trying to go back. Did I do something wrong? Was there something I actually did wrong? And I came back to the fact that I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
So the thing that came to my mind and a few other people's mind was that other people who had been involved in my coming to prison mm-hmm. still had their hands in my staying in prison.
Yeah.
And if not them directly, they're kind of like their groups or organizations that didn't want
law enforcement people.
Right.
Yeah.
That didn't want things coming out.
Because when these cases unravel and it looks bad on them.
And it makes everything goes bad.
Yeah.
So, but because of that, I had some super hardline cops that hated inmates with a passion, mm-hmm. wouldn't give you the time of day, suddenly come up and go, you know what? I've never written a chrono for anybody. I'm writing you a laudatory chrono. Wow. And they did. And they even put in some of their chronos. This man deserved to have gone home last time. He hopefully will go home this next time.
Yeah.
So I go back to the board in 15, mm-hmm. and they deny me. And then I go back in 16, and I get this commissioner named Montez. And right from the gate, her first thing in there is that, Mai was married to a Vietnam veteran, and I know all about PTSD, and I don't like any of you. And that's how the hearing started. And it just got uglier and uglier as it went along from there. Because all she did was get on me about my PTSD and all this stuff like that. And in prison, they wouldn't give me help for PTSD because I wasn't a problem. They only treated the problem cases. And it's, like I said, kind of like my feet. If it's cosmetic, put a couple 2 socks on, you're good.
But now it's not treated, so you still got it. So now you're a threat to society. It's going to be a problem.
And it's even more so.
Yeah.
But what was really the scariest kind of part about was that I had a paid lawyer when I went in 16.
Yeah.
And there's also an organization in California called Lifer Support Alliance, which goes and fights with legislature trying to get things changed and all that stuff. And they would send in observers sometimes, and they sent 2 observers into my hearing. And they were so shocked it was said. They wrote a report, and they were going to give us copies of the report and stuff. And my attorney got so angry, he actually bailed out at the end of the hearing. When the hearing was over, he bailed out, and he told me he was going to do my appeal pro bono and all this stuff. And then suddenly we don't hear from any of these people. And Betty, who had been in touch with all of them, had contacted them, and they put her on silent running. They wouldn't talk to us. And so now I'm going to go. I put in for an early advancement to the board, and I get it.
Yeah.
And they take me back in August of 17th, 2017. Well, I had just gotten denied in like June of 2016, so I'm going back just a little over a year later.
Yeah.
But I'm taking a state appointed lawyer, and I told the guy real up. I said, "Look, if you're not going to do anything to help me, stay the hell out of my way. I'll fight for my own self."
Yeah.
We get ready to go in that morning. He tells me, "Your commissioner is Montez, the same one I just had the year before that gave me such the blues." And I almost don't go in. I'm about to say, you know what? I'm not going in this hearing.
Like Shaun.
Yeah. And he tells me, and the guy was a Nigerian attorney. You know, I could barely understand for the most part, but I watch his lips, I can read his lips. He's like, "Look, you need to really go in here. Sometimes they have a different change in."
That's what they've had for breakfast.
Right. And so I go in, and I've got Montez, and I look at her, and you can tell she knows exactly who I am, right? Well, the year before, the court had come in with a thing about if you were over 60 with more than 25 years, then you're supposed to be given special consideration, extra and above.
Yeah.
Well, I'm at that time 63, and I've got 34 or 33 and a half years in.
Yeah.
So we're sitting there, and she starts off about what she doesn't like about me, blah, 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 blah. We go through this whole thing, and then she grants me suitability.
Wow.
And
how did you feel at that moment?
Shell shock. Thought there was a shoe to drop. Thought I was going to walk out and they were going to do something to me and everything.
Something would go wrong.
Yeah, it was just all that. And the attorney doesn't even wait around. He splits.
Yeah.
You know? And so then I go back. Well, the thing is that the officers who were sitting in the hearing immediately ran down and called my wing, called everybody, all in there. So by the time I walked out of the boardroom, everybody in the prison knew I'd been found suitable again.
Yeah.
This is my second suitability.
So now the date could get pulled.
Pardon? It could still be pulled after 5 months.
Okay.
But you don't know. You wait, and you wait, and you wait. And as it got closer and got closer and got closer, you know, but everybody's like, no, they won't take it twice. Yeah. But ironically, I knew 2 or 3 guys who had their dates taken 3 and 4 times. So, you know, but usually they lost theirs because they did something.
Yeah.
And I hadn't done anything.
Yeah.
So it gets up, and then on basically the day before I was going to parole, or actually my final date that the governor could take my date was in January.
Yeah.
And here is like the 18th of December, and my counselor calls me at like 2 in the afternoon and says, "You're paroling tomorrow morning."
Yeah.
I said, "What was that?" She goes, "You're paroling tomorrow morning." I said, "Are you sure?" She goes, "Yeah, you're paroling tomorrow morning. So I'm going to call you back in half an hour and see if you're still saying the same thing." She goes, "You're paroling tomorrow morning." So I call her back in half an hour. When I call her back, her boss, the counselor too, goes, "You're paroling tomorrow morning. Be ready." I said, "I'm as ready as I can be. Yeah. I could be in R&R in 5 minutes."
Yeah.
Well, ICE had already told me what I could and couldn't bring. And I wasn't going to be allowed to take hardly anything. Yeah. 1 bag of stuff.
Yeah.
And so I went to a couple of those hardline cops that I knew that wouldn't do anything for an inmate ever, but I knew they worked in R&R.
Yeah.
I told them, look, I can't take this stuff. I don't want to just give it to the state to do what they want. There's some guys that need it. I'm not making any money off it. It's not a hustle for me. I'm leaving. I could care less.
Yeah.
I'd like to give it to them. And the cops go, well, 8 o'clock tonight, bring the stuff down to R&R. So at 8 o'clock tonight, I took it down there. And then one cop is sitting there and he goes, okay, here's the deal. I ain't typing up nothing. You type it all up. You give it to me. I'll engrave it. You take it back and give it to them.
Yeah.
And you tell them that, you know, this is a gift for you, not for us. And I did. And I gave these guys TVs, my radio, and all the stuff. And at 2:30 in the morning, the officer woke me up, and we weren't allowed to shower after midnight.
Yeah.
The cop wakes me up 2:30, says, hey, you want to go shower? He goes, get ready. And I said, sure. And I went and got ready. And I had my own dress outs in the cell with me.
Yeah.
So, but I put on States to wear down there, so I was doing everything right. So I wear the States down, and then I change into I wait down there in the cage, and then they tell me I can change, and I change into my dress outs.
Yeah.
And at 6 a.m. when shift change came, I'm waiting for the ICE transport guy to come. And this line of staff come down there to say goodbye, to shake my hand, wish me well. I had a number of the psychs, some of the different officers, lieutenants, and stuff come down. So when the guy from the transport team shows up, he walks up and he goes, is this my pickup? This captain looks over and says, this is one of the good guys. Treat him well. And he turns back to me and he says, you know, I hope everything goes right for you when you get home. He goes, and hopefully at some point in time you can forget all that's gone wrong in your life. And then he left, and then a couple other people came up, shook my hand and stuff. And then one of the psychs, you know, there tells me, hey, you know, we've gotten the word to the other doctors that knew you that are all gone, that you're going home. We've sent emails to everybody. Everybody sends their best wishes. Turns to the guy and says, look, you know, don't treat this guy rough, you know. And then so then the one Sarge comes down, and from there, R&R Sarge comes down and says, you ready to go, Kane? And I said, yes, sir. And he goes, well, come on out. And I come out, and the guy goes, well, I got to cuff him up. And he goes, really? And he looks at me and he goes, front or back? I said, I don't care, whichever way you want to do it.
Yeah. He
goes, well, let's put him in the front. Okay, we put him in the front. And then I went off to go to ICE detention.
Yeah.